Hello, I'm Sophie welcome back to my channel. And hello Gigi. Gigi also wanted to film this video, I guess. But welcome to my 5 tips, I guess, for how I manage school and writing. Technically, this is school, writing, and YouTube since, you know, that's what we're doing right now. But as most people aren't making YouTube videos on the regular, we're just gonna call it how I manage school and writing. All 5 of these tips can technically be applied to making YouTube videos as well, so like it still makes sense, it still works. Also, these are just my experience, what helps me. Obviously this is not going to be set in stone, this is what you have to do in order to do everything you want to every day. Everyone is different, everyone approaches these things in different ways. Here's how I approach getting everything done that I want to in a given day. Maybe they'll be helpful to you, maybe they are the worst advice for how you operate. I don't know. But here are my 5 tips. First and foremost, having specific times for specific tasks. Not super specific. It's not really like a time blocking thing or like task batching, if any of you guys know what that is. But it's more of like a loose routine where certain times of the day sort of tell me like, oh, it's time to start migrating from working on this to working on this. So typically mornings into like the afternoon is studying at school. I'm in class during that time, so during class and then in between classes and a little bit before, a little bit after, I tend to work on all of my schoolwork. I'll do studying, reading, homework, etc. during that time. And then afterwards, if I am coming home, because sometimes I'll stay on campus, I'll go to a library, I'll continue studying if I really need to, but if I come home, that afternoon time, probably from like 3 to 5, 3 to 6, is hobbies and like maintenance. Maintenance is a weird word for this, but it's like I'll write, I'll read, I'll watch YouTube, I'll clean, I'll cook, something like that. Just like a nice chunk of time where things are sort of in the air, but I'm not working on schoolwork. I can do anything else but really do schoolwork and study. And then evenings for me, which is 6 or later, are times to do homework if I need to still do homework, which I typically do, or to do YouTube, which is like editing videos. I like to edit at night. I don't know why, that's like the only time I edit videos is in the dark of night. But if I don't have a video to edit or I don't have any homework, I'll write because I am a night writer. We all know this. So if I have the time, I'm like, ooh, I can write right now. And I'll do that instead. But mornings to afternoon, almost strictly school. Of course, if there's time in between classes and everything where I don't have anything to do for my classes, I will write or read, but typically just school. And then after class, it's doing whatever I want, basically. Just decompressing after the day, I guess, before I start in the evenings, picking it back up, or working on YouTube, or writing, or whatever I need to do, but typically it is homework. Then next, and this might seem extremely obvious, but sometimes I do have to remind myself to prioritize what's most important. Typically for me, that is like my exams, my big exams or big projects or something. The key is to understand that that takes the priority of the time and that it's going to take a long time and that everything else I want to do needs to work around that. So that would mean pretty much taking the last thing I just talked about and throwing that completely to the side to prioritize studying or to prioritize working on this project. So like the whole sectioning off the morning, the afternoon, and the evening is just gone. And that's gonna be okay, and we're gonna have to be okay with that until the exam is over or until I've turned in the project. Hello, editing me here from my kitchen table where I'm editing this video. Wow. I wanted to say here that for tip number 1, the whole idea of having specific times for specific things is to have a balance. Have a balance of studying and writing, or at least something close to that. I don't want my days completely dominated by studying. I want to be able to do the things that I like. So with tip number 1, that is the big idea. That's the main idea. What I'm talking about here is when that's not an option. Sometimes it's not going to be an option. Sometimes big things are going to come up that you end up needing to dedicate all of your time to, and that's gonna happen. And like, I have to be okay with that. Otherwise, if that isn't the case, I try to have a balance of all the things that I like doing. Yeah, just wanted to clarify that because I feel like these two right out the gate kind of like go against each other, but that's the idea. That's the idea. Okay, and next, I know I just talked about how like I don't do strict time blocking, and I don't. But fixing a schedule that shows you when things are happening, roughly, loosely, is very important and very nice. I only use this for things that have set times. Like, I don't put on my calendar how long I'm going to be studying or how long I'm going to be at the grocery store or something. I usually just use this for like appointments I might have or classes or study sessions like that I'm like doing with other people where it's like, we're only going to be here from this time to this time because that's the only time we have. That is all I pretty much use it for, but it provides a good structure for like, okay, this is the time that is being allocated to something specific. Here's the rest of the time in the day that I have to do everything else I want to do. So it looks kind of scary when you look at it in this view, because there's a lot of blue, because blue is my school color, so those are all time blocked. They're not just on top of the like monthly. So like here is a week. As you can see, a lot of the time is not taken up by like time blocking. It's literally just from 9 to 3 for school. I've blocked out my classes so I know where I'm going because I'm very forgetful, but I have that for every week basically. And then really the only other things I have in here are a meeting for one of the clubs I'm in at school, and the other was when me and two of my friends went to go see Hamilton in theaters, because that was a set time. That was a set amount of time. It's a 2-hour long movie or musical, so I knew how long we would be there. So that's pretty much what I do. And there's some other meetings and stuff in here, but for the most part I just use this for my classes and seeing my classes, because typically I don't have a lot of structured time things outside of going to class. But seeing that, understanding when my schedule differs from just having class is very important, especially because I will very easily forget that I have something to do if it's not staring at me in my calendar. So very helpful. Next, number 4 is deep focus sprints. I talked about this a little bit in my like tips for writing more or writing faster, but I really like the 45-minute on, 15 off sprint structure. Typically, it's been putting on like a vinyl R&B mix on YouTube, or like a R&B like house music mix on YouTube, something like that, and doing the 45 on, 15 off has been so good recently. It just, I get into the zone so fast. So using that both for studying and for writing really gets you in that deep focus, that flow state, and you can get a lot more done than saying like, oh, I'm gonna sit here for 3 hours and I'm gonna work all the way through. Like that's a big commitment, and typically one that people can't hold themselves to because it's a long time. It's a long time to stay focused. But having those 15-minute breaks in the middle really helps. And honestly, it doesn't take that much time out of your study time. Like, if you do 4 sessions, you're still getting 3 hours of work in, and that's pretty crazy. And like I said in that writing tips video, it doesn't feel like a lot of time has passed in that time, which can be bad if you're like working on a crunch, which that's a whole other can of worms we're not going to talk about. But you can work for 4 straight hours with 4 15-minute breaks, so 3 hours total, but you can sit at your desk for 4 hours straight and not even feel like that much time has passed. And I love that. And that's great. If I can forget how slow time is passing while I'm studying, that is a win. So I tend to use that a lot for studying, especially when I'm in one place for a long time. Like if I'm at a coffee shop for 3 or 4 hours, or if I'm sitting at my desk for like 6 hours or something, I will use the 45-15 to get the day going and get so much more work done than I would if I was just like, okay, I'm gonna sit here and we're gonna work. Like, having that structure, even if it is just like an on-off sprint system, is so helpful. Like, it doesn't seem like it's gonna be that helpful, but it is. All right, and finally, my final tip is to switch locations for different tasks. This might be a little hard, but this is sort of like a loose structure for what I try to do when I want to do certain things. I personally am not someone who likes to work at home a lot. I'll do it if I need to, of course, because sometimes going to the coffee shop or something is out of the picture. So I will study at home, I'll write at home, but even here, I have certain areas where I like to do things. First, talking about actual locations outside of my apartment, I tend to use the library at school for studying because the library is open until midnight every night. So after class, I can go there, and I don't stay until midnight. I stay until probably like 9 or 10 p.m. and I can bang out like so much work there. And typically that is just studying. I don't tend to write at the library, though if I am done with schoolwork and I'm like, I don't want to leave yet, I don't want to walk home, I'll write there. But most of the time, just studying at the library. And then for writing, I tend to go to coffee shops, which is bad a little bit, because I've sort of Pavloved myself into wanting to write whenever I'm in a coffee shop, because that is what I typically do. And it's like, no, I went to this coffee shop to study. Like, I need to study. But it's like, but I want to write now. So sometimes it's bad. Sometimes it's bad, but I do tend to write when I get to coffee shops, even when I should be studying. But if I can get the writing itch out of my system, I can get into studying. So libraries for studying for me, coffee shops for writing, typically. Though I do try to study in coffee shops as well because I kind of need to. That's kind of the priority. And then when I am home, I tend to use my desk for school because I need the double monitor. Makes everything easier. And when I want to write, I move to my kitchen table. That's just like naturally where I go for each thing. Sometimes I need extra space to study, so I will use the kitchen table because my desk is very small. But typically when I'm like, ooh, I need to study, I need to lock in, I will move over to the desk and study and do everything there. And if it's like, oh, I want a break, I'm gonna go write, I will move to my kitchen table and I'll write there. Don't know, but having a physical switch in location can help the mental switch from being like, okay, we're done thinking about math, let me move over to thinking about words and prose and character. So definitely helps sort of get out of one brain and enter the other to actually do the two things that I really like doing, which are sort of on the opposite ends of the thinking spectrum, I guess. But those are my 5 tips for managing school and writing and YouTube, I guess, but that's an aside. Please let me know what your guys' strategies for working on both things are. If you have anything that's similar to like what I like to do, if you have something that you think I should try. I'm always interested in learning new ways to, make sure I can do the things that I love without sacrificing the other or completely putting one to the side or burning out and panicking. But thank you so much for watching. Thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out. Again, let me know all of your own strategies and everything in the comments. Let me know if you try anything that I talked about here. And yeah, I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.